Wall Street closes higher on Friday, but S&P 500 posts the biggest weekly loss since September. Investors remained wary of uncertainty surrounding President Donald Trump's tariff policies and digested lower than expected payroll additions. Stocks in Asia Pacific trade mixed after a volatile trading week from around the world. The GIFT Nifty is indicating a lower start for the Indian market. Brent crude prices hover around $70 a barrel as concerns about the impact of U.S. import tariffs on global economic growth and fuel demand cooled off investor appetite. Gold prices ended the week with gains on safe haven demand. Sources tell CNBC TV 18 that India is in talks to reduce tariffs in bilateral trade agreements with the United States. This development is seen as a part of India's broader effort to lower tariffs and following similar steps with the countries like Australia, UAE and Norway. And in a nail-biting match, Rohit Sharma saves his best knock for the final as India beat New Zealand by 4 wickets to win the ICC Champions Trophy 2025 in Dubai. Hello, good morning. You've tuned into CNBC TV 18. I'm Vinny Motiwala and you're watching Power Breakfast. Thank you so much for tuning in with us this morning. But, while India surely has won the ICC Championship Trophy, today the Asian markets don't seem to be cheering that. A bit of a mixed opening because Taiwan index is down 0.5%. We're seeing Hang Seng that's down 0.4% in trade. We've seen some of these other markets that are trading on the positive end is Nikkei as well as ASX 200 is what we're watching out for. That's a bit on the positive side, but a very, very mixed opening is what we're watching out for. I think that uncertainty around Trump tariffs is what everyone is keeping an eye out on, where that is going to be headed. As of now, Nifty implied open, let's look at that because that's indicating a bit of a downtick for the Indian markets, down almost 45 to 50 points in the range is what Nifty implied is indicating a bit of a downtick. So yes, we could expect a bit of a muted to red start for the Indian markets this morning. It'll be interesting to see where we head out after that opening that we see. But moving on U.S. markets, Wall Street ended Friday's session, which was higher with all indices gaining 0.5% each. Now, S&P 500, however, still posted the worst week it saw in several months as trade policy actions unnerved investors. Let's go across to CNBC's Bertha Coombs, who is here with us to give us what's happening and what was a wrap on Wall Street. Bertha?
U.S. markets were up across the major indexes Friday, but the S&P 500 notched its worst week since September amid a stream of tariff policy changes this week. The Dow up 223 points, the S&P 500 higher by 32, while the tech-heavy Nasdaq rose 127 points. Job growth was weaker than expected in February, but still stable despite President Trump's efforts to drastically cut the federal workforce. According to the Labor Department, 151,000 jobs were created in February. That's about 20,000 fewer than expected, but still better than the January total, which was revised down to 125,000. The unemployment rate moved slightly higher to 4.1%. According to the report, the biggest job growth came in healthcare and social assistance. Retail and leisure and hospitality saw the biggest declines. Meantime, the long-awaited AI update to Apple's Siri is going to take a little while longer. Instead of an expected launch this spring, Apple announced Friday that it's delaying until 2026 the update, which would allow Siri to take action inside other apps, as well as other improvements such as allowing what Apple calls personal context, like filling out forms on a user's behalf. Apple is facing stiff competition for AI developments or general AI technology from companies including OpenAI, Amazon, and Google. That's what's happening here in the U.S. Back over to you in Mumbai.
Thanks so much for that. But let's also listen in to David Rosenberg of Rosenberg Research and what he has to say on U.S. markets and the economy going forward.
I think it's going to be much slower growth, at least over the next several quarters. And let's hope that all the uncertainty and unpredictability doesn't take the stock market down even more, because Wall Street and Main Street have never been this hitched together before when you're taking a look at household exposure to equities. So I think the big risk on top of everything else that the Treasury Secretary was talking about was the added layer of complication if we go into a bear market in equities, because then you're going to get the double whammy from everything else going on the negative wealth effect on spending. That's why, even though the president says, he's not looking at the stock market, we should all be looking at the stock market, because not just because it's a leading indicator, but because it also is going to have an impact on consumer spending across the board.
And in an exclusive chat with CNBC, U.S. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick spoke about the way forward for America, interest rates, the Make in America initiative, and more. Listen in.
You are going to see growth in America. You're going to see an interest rate when we balance the budget of the United States. You're going to see interest rates drop 1% or more. You're going to see the stock market explode. And if it doesn't do it tomorrow, that's because people just don't understand that they should be betting on Donald Trump. If I were them and I were your viewers, I would understand the long-term trade of Donald Trump is you bet on him, and he is a winner, and he is going to win for America. If you want to buy things from other countries and you want to bring it into America, then the price is going to rise. But if you make it here, then of course the price won't rise. So make it here. Make it here. How hard is that to say? Just keep repeating it to yourself. There's no tariff if you make it here. So TSMC, the biggest chip manufacturer, says, okay, I'll make it here. You're going to watch everybody come to that realization. Apple, who builds it all in China. Why are they building it all in China and giving us our iPhone? Why don't they make it here? They used to say we don't have...
Mr. Secretary, is that wages are lower over there.
And now there are robots who can do it. You're going to see robotic production of iPhones and the jobs that are going to be created, people who build those factories, the mechanics who work on those robots. These jobs are going to be millions and millions of those jobs. These are great, high-paying jobs, and you don't need a college education to do it. This is the recreation of tradecraft in the United States of America, and Donald Trump is on it. He's bringing it back, and you are going to see Apple. Why did Apple say they're going to invest $500 billion in America? Because they're going to build the robots to build their iPhones in America.
Okay, now that's all the global market action that we have for you this morning. But how are all these overnight cues going to be impacting our Indian markets? As always, we have a team of research joining in with us to set you up for trade, tell you which are the important stocks to watch out for, as well as the FNO action. Hormaz, Abhishek, as well as Sudarshan, very good morning. And Hormaz, let me start with you. Important market cues to watch out for. All of us are surely cheering that India has won the championship trophy, ICC Championship Trophy 2025. But market, is it going to be cheering that?
Too early to call that, right? Because even if it was a good week the last time around, but it is too premature to say whether it is the start of a sustained recovery. Of course, it was a good week the last time around, where multiple positive triggers that the market had to react to. The liquidity injection by the RBI, a cool off in the dollar, which benefited metals, a cool off in oil prices as well, that benefited oil marketing companies as well. The other positive trigger has come from Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman over the weekend, who's saying that the GST rates, they're very close to cutting them further. So that might act as another boost as well. Now, a big contributor to this recovery last week, of course, was Reliance Industries after the slew of upgrades that it saw. The last 3 sessions, the stock has gained almost 8%. That is a big contributor to the Nifty recovery the last time around. As I mentioned, the dollar, the oil prices have benefited metals, energy. PSU banks were a big contributor last week. Some key levels to watch, of course, Friday's high, which is 22,633, and 24th February's high of 22,668. These are the two major levels to watch today on the upside. And then, of course, we go up to the two resistance bands of 22,700 and 22,800. But the question to be asked is, can Reliance continue to lead this higher? Is this a sustained recovery, or is it just a dead cat bounce? For now, the Dow futures are down almost 200. The GIFT Nifty is also indicating a slightly subdued start, but we will watch out for some important levels on the upside today.
Okay, Hormaz, thank you so much for that. But let's go close to Abhishek, who's here to tell us important stocks to watch out for in today's trading session. Good morning, Abhishek.
Good morning, Vinny. So to begin with, IndusInd Bank will be in focus as RBI has given only 1 year extension to their MD for, up to March 2026 against the board seeking a 3-year extension for the same. Now, Shyam Metallics February update is that stainless steel is up 110% YOY, but they have declined 5% month on month. Now, US FDA have conducted two facilities they have visited. So, one is Alembic Pharma, wherein they have issued 483 at their, Vadodara-based, facility. Shilpa Medicare as well, US FDA has issued observation for their Raichur-based unit. Lupin, they have launched Rivaroxaban tablets in the US. We have another production data from M&M, wherein the February production is up nearly 10.5% YOY, while February sales are up nearly 13% YOY, and their export is almost double on a YOY basis, up 99%. IRB Infra, over there, the February toll collections are up nearly 14.5% YOY. GMR Airports, they have acquired another 10% stake in Delhi International Airport. With this, that stake increases to 74% versus 64% earlier. JSW has given their biz update. So for February, the crude steel production is up 12% YOY. The capacity utilization for February was at 93.5%. Back to you.
Okay, Abhishek, thank you so much for that. And finally, we have Sudarshan, who's waiting by to tell us important cues in the world of F&O. Good morning, Sudarshan.
Good morning, Vinny. So on Friday, while we have seen minor changes for both Sensex and Nifty, even there was a minor gain for mid-cap index. But for the week, it was a good week, and Sensex and Nifty saw gains of almost 2%, biggest gain that we have seen in almost last 3 months. For today, following the global cues, GIFT Nifty is indicating a start with minor cuts. Now, talking about the flows, FIs remain on the sell side, but Friday's flow in the cash market that we have seen, or that FI is selling more than rupees 2,000 crore, it's the lowest sell number that we have seen in last 2 to 3 weeks. Now, coming to the derivative side, FIs have bought nearly 300 crore. They have added long positions of nearly 450 contracts, but at the same time, they have also added short positions, and here the addition is more than 2,200 contracts. Now, FI's long exposure remains around 18%, while on the client side, long exposure is at 71%. On the option front, now 2 options on the call side that were the most active were 22,800 and 23,000. On the put side, 22,300 and 22,600 were the most active options. Now, with these important levels for Nifty, support is now seen somewhere around 22,465. That is Friday's intraday low, and resistance has now moved higher to 22,750 or say 22,800. One stock that has been supporting Nifty for the last 2 sessions is Reliance Industries, which has now moved higher than 50 DMA, and now it's just below 100 daily moving average. So keep an eye on Reliance Industry, and stocks that are in ban are Hindustan Copper and Manappuram Finance.
Okay, Sudarshan, thank you so much for that. Keep an eye out on those names as well in the world of F&O. But on that note, we're going to step into a very short break. Next, we get you the latest updates on India and US tariff trade talks that are likely to take place according to sources. Now, stay tuned for more details on this one. Welcome back. Thanks for staying tuned to Power Breakfast on CNBC TV 18. Now, Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman has said that the government is very close to finalizing its stance on GST rate and slab reductions. Speaking at an event, the Finance Minister added that she is personally reviewing every proposal before presenting it to the GST Council for a final decision. The goal is to simplify the system, reduce rates, and ultimately offer relief to taxpayers, is what she added. So an important update coming in on that front. Now, moving on in some national news, reports suggest that Vice President Jagdeep Dhankar was admitted to the AIIMS Delhi early on Sunday after complaining of uneasiness and chest pains. Now, Dhankar was brought in to the critical care unit at around 2 a.m. on Sunday morning. Prime Minister Narendra Modi visited the hospital, prayed for his good health and fast recovery. And in some international news, Canada ruling party elects Mark Carney as the leader, and he will replace the current Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. He has served as the 8th governor of Bank of Canada from 2008 to 2013 and be the 24th Prime Minister of Canada. On that note, let's just step into a very short break. We'll come back and give you the latest updates, what's happening in the world of commodities. So stay tuned in for that. Welcome back. Thanks for staying tuned into Power Breakfast on CNBC TV 18. Let's move on. And US President Donald Trump has continuously criticized India for high tariffs. And once again, on a Friday, he told reporters that US can't sell anything in India. Listen in.
India charges us massive tariffs, massive. You can't even sell anything into India. It's almost restrictive. It is restrictive. We do very little business inside. They've agreed, by the way, they want to cut their tariffs way down now because somebody's finally exposing them for what they've done.
And following the claims by US President, we understand from sources that India is in talks to reduce tariff in a bilateral trade agreement with the US. And Parikshit is joining in with us this morning to give us details on this one. Parikshit, what are your sources telling you? Good morning.
Well, last week, Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal was in the United States for talks with USTR Jamieson Greer and U.S. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick. So those negotiations happened over a 2 to 3 day period, and we've seen a lot of messages from the U.S. government. One, the U.S. Commerce Secretary going on record to say that they would want a very big, broad and macro-level trade deal with India. They don't want to negotiate things product by product. They want the overall average tariffs to go down. We've seen how Donald Trump himself has gone out and said that it's impossible to sell anything in India. So clearly the US side has put a lot of pressure. The Indian government saying that it's very difficult to share all the details of the negotiations, but yes, just the way India has brought down the average applied tariff significantly for countries such as UAE, Norway, Switzerland, Australia, due to the FTA with these countries. Similarly, India is trying to negotiate how to reduce the average tariffs for the United States as well, and negotiations should be seen in that context. And India is saying that by the end of fall, they would possibly have an agreement which would be in the benefit of both countries.
Okay, Parikshit, thank you so much for that. But on that note, let's move on and talk about what's happening in the world of commodities this morning with Manisha Gupta. Manisha, good morning, and we're watching out for crude today as well.
Well, I am. That's because we've seen the crude oil prices continue to decline for 7 weeks now, and we have started this week as well on a slightly weaker note. Well, the markets are concerned about tariff impact, and the U.S. will increase sanctions on Russia if the ceasefire fails. So there are contradicting fundamentals as well coming in here. The markets will also watch out for OPEC and allies, which are planning to hike output from the month of April. So we are dealing with a problem of more supplies and weaker demand right now. In the meanwhile, the street also is reacting to the U.S. markets, where the U.S. non-farm payroll data saw 151,000 jobs versus the estimate of 160,000 jobs. So we are looking at a smaller number in that case, and that also has led to a decline in dollar index, which is trading at a 4-month lows. That in turn seems to be supporting many of these metal commodities. So you have the gold prices trading slightly on a firmer note. Even as copper has come off its 9-month highs, we still are trading on a stronger side, on the higher side of the range for many of these metal prices today as well.
Okay, Manisha, thank you so much for that. Keep an eye out on crude as well as some of these metals. But as we wrap up this edition of Power Breakfast on CNBC TV 18, some exciting news from the world of sports. The men in blue clinched the 2025 ICC Championship trophy for a record, breaking third time in a nail-biting finish against New Zealand last night. New Zealand won the toss and chose to bat, where the Indian spinners put on a show, helping India restrict the score to 251 for 7 wickets. Bowlers Kuldeep Yadav, Varun Chakravarti bagged 2 wickets each. In the following innings, Captain Rohit Sharma chased down 78 runs, Shreyas Iyer bagging 48 runs, and KL Rahul scored 34 runs, playing a crucial role in the final knockoff against New Zealand.